Yep.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy P from Loud Pack Boxing, y'all. And today I got a very, very, very special guest. I'm honored to have him. This is really like my first interview, so I appreciate him coming through. I want to welcome my brother Percy Crawford to the show. What's up, Percy?
P, what's good, man? You've been rocking with me a long time, bro. So you asked, it wasn't nothing but a word.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. And I want to ask you about something you probably forgot about, but it was a few years back, but it was me, you, and King Mo on the phone.
I do remember that.
Yeah, you was running some type of contest, and I wound up getting it. So we all was on the phone chopping it up, man. And that was I never forgot that. That was a cool day for me, for real. Being
that's what's up.
You know, combat sports or whatever. But I'm gonna go ahead and hop right into it, man. Like I said, I've been following you for a long time. Like I said, back before we had new media, we had all the boxing blogs. It was more so just a lot of boxing websites. You know, not a lot, but we had boxing websites. You had to go online and go to the website. And fighthype.com was one of the biggest ones out, you know, and you were a co-owner and a writer for Fight Hype. Let's go back during that time, man. One of the things that caught my eye about that time, Percy, is y'all was the ones getting the exclusive Floyd Mayweather interviews. He wasn't rocking with other people. Y'all was known to get the exclusives from Floyd, and I know that was like a real good look for y'all. Tell the people about that a little bit, man. Just going back.
Yeah, man. It was for me, man, it was just about relationship building, bro. You know, some people you could treat them like an interview, and some people you can build a relationship with them. So I never wanted to treat anybody like just another interview. From Floyd Mayweather to the kid that was 3-0, they got my same attention. So I think that kind of drew people to us when they see the way we handle fighters and gave a fair platform. And that was one of the things that made Floyd gravitate to us. And it wasn't just Floyd. It was, although James Toney did a lot with a lot of people, I felt like he gave us his best. And in particular me, he gave me his best because I gave him a fair platform. And we built a relationship. It wasn't just the interview. Honestly, P, I probably talked to a lot of them guys more off record than on record because we would just call, chop it up. And a lot of people got to understand when you're talking to some of these fighters, they don't always want to talk about boxing. So I was that guy they can call off record and, you know, talk about whatever, football, family. So I think that was one of the things we kind of, we were early on it. We were early on the fact of just building relationships, not treating every fighter the same. And, you know, I think that was one of the things that made Floyd Mayweather kind of gravitate to us is that not only was it a fair platform, but it was more than just the interview. It was, you know, caring and showing that it was the other side to us so we could see the other side to them.
For sure, for sure. I mean, honestly, Fight Hype is one of the only platforms that's still around from that era in time. So it just shows how they were able to transition into, as they say, new media. I want to touch on that a little bit. Is the internet good or bad for boxing or combat sports in general, Percy? What do you think?
I think everything is a double-edged sword, man. I think it can be good and bad. It's like social media, right? If you use it right, it can be great. If you use it wrong, it can be a curse. Everything's a gift and a curse to me, man. I look at everything as a two-sided coin. So in one sense, I think the internet is good because obviously you can get information out there very quickly. In another sense, I think the internet is bad because you can get information out there very quickly. And that's the double-edged sword. It's the same meaning, different propaganda, because getting things out quickly, a lot of times you get things wrong. I think that was a little bit of what the old internet, the old boxing media did well, is we weren't rushed to get stories out. If I had an interview with James Toney, 9 times out of 10, I was going to ask him things that nobody else was going to ask him. So I can take my time, put it out the right way. Now in the new media, it's all video driven. So you catch somebody and you put a camera in their face. Then you got to run back and put it up faster than the next person because they had 10 cameras in his face. getting the same information, getting the same interview. So I think it's a little rushed now. I think it's a little sloppy now. You see a lot of people put up damn near anything now, and it used to not be like that. There was a standard on it, and that standard affected whether you got approved or denied a credential. Now media passes seem to be a thing that just get passed out. I don't know if the promoters or whoever handles the credentials just want the media room to look full so it makes the event look better. But I'm telling you, man, that was not the standard years ago. We got denied several times when we first got started out. And understandably, I understood why. I mean, I never took it personal. I just took it as a method to work harder and get better content. I think that's lacking now.
Yeah, I mean, the market is flooded now. You know, everybody is covering everything, so it's just like quality has went down. You know what I'm saying? And then, to be honest, Percy, the money thing changed the game. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Guys back in the day were doing it for the love. Now, guys making money on YouTube. He's making money on these platforms doing it. So that was a big game changer. What you think about that?
Yeah, money could be good and evil, man. It's back to that two-sided coin. You sacrifice quality for quantity, especially when there's a paycheck at the end of the quantity. So instead of putting out one great interview every, 3 days, if you could put out 10 interviews in one day, yeah, there's money on it, but the quality of it's gonna suffer because you can't put out great quality when you're facilitating that much news and that many videos. That's why you see so many of the weird, catchy titles and things like that. And honestly, man, it was something I didn't really want to be a part of. I know a lot of people call it clickbait. I just think it's poor quality bait. I mean, if you're gonna put out so many videos, you take a 10-minute video with, Andre Ward, and you chop it up into 6 videos. How can you do that with a 10-minute video? You know, and I think that's what we're getting a lot of, P. We're sacrificing quality for quantity. And you touched on it just then, it's oversaturation. There's so many people. I think I saw somebody say there's like 200 blogs and 3,000 YouTube pages. That's oversaturation, man. That all can't be quality.
Absolutely. This year we got hit with this Corona, COVID-19, and we seen a couple different things play out, Percy. We seen how MMA handled it. We seen how boxing handled it. Me personally, I wasn't sure about what Dana White was doing, but I got to take my hat off to him for one, getting it done. For two, taking the chances and the risk that came along with it. And 3, for having that foresight to see something like that working during this time. What do you think about how both sports handled the situation, and moving forward, how do you think Corona is going to affect sports in general?
Man, I'll be honest, I was optimistic like everybody, man. I was hoping by the end of 2020 we would be over it. Obviously, that's not the case. Looks like we're going to be dealing with it for quite some time. I thought both entities handled it well. I actually salute both entities because there was a time, man, I thought sports were going to be dead, especially when the XFL shut down and you started seeing the NBA shut down. You got to think a niche sport like boxing or a niche sport like MMA was next.
Right.
They prevented that. And in preventing that, I think people have to understand fighters were able to make money. Fighters were able to feed their families. This was bigger than Dana White, Bob Arum, Al Heyman. This provided a platform and a place of employment for so many workers, man, because fighters only get paid when they fight. They'll be the first to tell you that. So I thought both handled it well. Obviously, I think the UFC and Dana White they were on it quicker because they had a vision quicker as opposed to boxing, where boxing kind of just felt like they would shut down with the country. Dana White's, and Dana White is a proactive guy. Whether you like him or not, he usually seems to be more proactive than reactive. So salute to all of them, bro, because even with the modified crowds and things like that, these fighters seem to be happy. And at the end of the day, like me, P, as a fight fan, media, whatever you want to call us, fighters being happy should be the end goal. So when it looked like times were going to be down, they made it happen, bro. And they made it happen in a big way because I'll be honest, bro. We had a pretty good year of combat sports last year, considering the circumstances.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely from the MMA standpoint. I mean, at one
For
time
sure.
we was getting like a big fight every weekend from, Dana. But the state of boxing today, Percy, versus late 2000s. The younger fighters, do you see a difference in them?
I do, man. I actually had this conversation yesterday with one of my boys, man. It's crazy you say that because I have to wrap my mind. I was asked the question, is Keith Thurman, if boxing ended today, is Keith Thurman a Hall of Famer? And maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But one thing I have to wrap my mind around is, and I haven't yet, I really haven't. We have to wrap our minds, P, around guys retiring with less than 35 fights. That's just the reality now. So you have to take their body of work within, I don't know, 32, 33 fights and determine if they're a Hall of Fame or not. And what brought that about is I thought boxing should have did a one-off. I think they should have, instead of inducting 3 this past class, they should have inducted 4. To tell me James Toney with 77 wins, 90 fights, never been stopped, is not a first ballot Hall of Famer is a tough pill to swallow.
Absolutely.
So I thought it should have been a one-off. I can understand the people making the argument for Cotto. I could see leaving Cotto off the first ballot. I could see leaving Tim Bradley off the first ballot. James Toney is absolutely a first ballot Hall of Famer. He is the standard for what a first ballot Hall of Famer should look like. So have it changed? It's changed a lot, and it's changed in the sense of activity. I think you see some guys not have as sharp as performances as some of the older fighters because they're not as active. The only way you get better is to be in your craft. And I don't mean living in a gym. Training and fighting is 2 different things. So when you look at guys like Spence, Crawford, Sean Porter, Thurman, even guys like Anthony Joshua, some of these guys were retired with right at 40 fights. Ray Leonard fought 11 times in 1978. He fought 9 times in 1979. Obviously, those days are long behind us because networks are involved, the purses are bigger, and now you add this COVID thing to it, bro, and it's really, you can't put big fights on when you can only invite 3,000 people. So, yeah, bro, it's a big difference. I think it's an adjustment for all of us, especially guys like you and I, because we were in it during the days where you could see a star 4 or 5 times a year. Those days are obviously gone, bro. So yeah, it's changed big time.
What about the money aspect, Percy? It definitely looks like these guys, they're making a lot of money right now. And with making a lot of money, like they say, like Marvin Hagler said, it's hard to get up and run at 5 a.m. when you sleeping in silk sheets, something like that. But,
absolutely.
Do you think that's factoring into this new generation of fighters?
Absolutely, man. Look at the first thing that come up when we talk about 2 A-class fighters fighting. Money, the purse, the bag, they call it now. So, yeah, it factors in, and rightfully so. I want to see these guys get paid. I don't want people to think I'm one of these take whatever the promoter offers you and just fight guys. I'm not that at all. But it has changed the landscape of boxing. I think the networks being so involved changed the landscape of boxing. And one thing about it, it seems that there's a lot of money to go around. The flip side of that, though, is you see guys like Ryan Garcia, Errol Spence. These guys already saying, I'm only doing a few more and I'm out.
Right.
That's not a bad thing necessarily because we've seen so many examples of guys stick around too long. Their health deteriorates right in front of our eyes in the ring. So it's a good thing in the sense of, yeah, these guys starting to see other ways to use their brand and their market value aside from fighting. It sucks for us because we do want to see these guys in all these great matchups, but it sounds like because of the money, a lot of these guys have already formulated their exit strategy, and I can't be mad at that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, it's great the guys are having more opportunity now to do other things besides fight. You know what I mean? Even though I know some of them love to fight, it's still always good to have options. You know what I'm saying?
And you can love it too much, man. We've seen guys love it so much and they stick around and they stick around. We seen it with a couple guys now. I love what Mike Tyson and Roy Jones did, because I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to make money in boxing once you hit a certain age. I just think it should be under modified rules and under the safety of some kind of precautions of preventing injury. So I'm all for these guys sticking around boxing. Unfortunately, it's just not enough commentating gigs to go around for all retired fighters. So they kind of finding other lanes and avenues to make bread, man. I can't never hate on that, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Percy. Terrence Crawford, Earl Spence, who wins?
If I had to pick right now, I would probably lean Errol Spence. I think it'll be hard for any guy moving up in weight. And I know Bud's got a few welterweight fights under his belt, but Errol's a natural welterweight. And one thing people don't factor in is Bud is 33 years old. Errol's 27, I think. Bud has 34, 35 fights. Errol has 27, 28 fights. I just think if you take the fan out of it and you really break it down, by the time these guys can realistically fight, Bud may be a 35-year-old man. And this is a youthful sport, man. This sport is ran by youth. And not saying 35 is old, but in boxing, you know, it's different. Boxing 35 is different probably than any other sport 35. And the example I give is T.O. T.O. Owens is still in phenomenal shape. There's a reason he's been out the NFL so long, because much like boxing, football is a physical sport, and physicality always going to lean on youth. So I think by the time the fight was realistically possible, I think Errol has a youth advantage. He's always going to have a size and reach advantage. I just think so many things play into Errol's hands. And to a degree, man, Bud is a dog. I love Bud because he's a dog. I just think, not saying he fights down to his level of opposition, but by top rank, not being able to provide top-notch caliber opponents time in and time out. No disrespect to Joseph Benavidez, because he fought his ass off against Bud. Mean Machine fought his ass off against Bud. Kell Brook came and did what he can do, but we know that's not Porter, Garcia, Thurman. So when you have one guy fighting up and one guy fighting kind of middle tier, I think that shows up fight night.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Always good points. That I have to agree with. You know, like you said, you have to take the fan out of it. I'm definitely a Terrence. I'm a fan of both those guys. It's such a hard choice to make, man. To be honest, I'm a fan of both guys, but I definitely like Terrence Crawford a lot. But you know, all those things really factor in the fight game: age, fights, you know, all of that stuff. But Percy, I ain't gonna hold you up long, my brother. I want to thank you for taking out the time to stop by and chop it up with me. I hope you come back. We can do it again. Before we go, let the people know where they can find you at.
Man, www.zenger.news, NEWS. That's where all my work is at. Like I told you, P, I've stepped outside of my box, man. I interview entertainers, comedians, still fighters, and football players. I just broadened my base, man. And I advise everybody to, even if you don't broaden your base, broaden your network, broaden who you talk to, step outside of just what you do, which is what I had to do. And it's opened up a lot of avenues for me. So, Pete, thank you for having me, bro. Like I said, you've been a long-time supporter.
Yes,
so
sir.
Anytime you need me, I'm here, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Percy, man. And like I said, I ain't gonna hold you up. You make sure you take it easy and have a good day. And we'll be looking forward to getting you back on soon, man.
Thanks, brother, man. I'm glad you and your family done shook that virus, bro.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for the time, bro.
Anytime.
All right.